is really the secret to why I've been able to double my business personally just in the past few months alone, which has been wonderful. I'll also explain and show you what types of campaigns work best for which products, because I know we have a lot of folks on this training, and you might be a professional service provider or a coach, and that's one type of campaign that's efficient, or you might be selling information products, and that's a different type of campaign, or maybe you're selling expensive stuff. Well, that's a different type of campaign. So I'll sort of prescribe what campaign structures are good for what business models to help you out there. And finally, we're really going to get pretty deep into how to create systems that generate sales without your involvement. And this is really, really cool. Our mission, by the way, is to help you achieve total freedom in your business while selling more than ever. So that's what we're going to do. With all of that said, though, once again, I really want to reiterate, I do respect your time, and this is definitely not for everybody. So here's who this is really going to be beneficial for. If you actually sell stuff, you're going to get a lot out of this. If you don't sell stuff, but you have something you want to offer, or you have a product that you want to sell, you're still going to get a lot out of this. If you're doing okay in your business and you're active and you're doing things, but you want to do a lot better, this is really, really perfect for you. With that in mind, if you don't have anything to offer, or if you're like a business opportunity seeker or something like that, I don't think you're going to find this useful. You're certainly welcome to stay, but this is really for people who are doing something and they just really want to get very, very good. People who are actively doing business and want to get their businesses to the next level. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll give you a mercifully brief introduction if you don't know me already. You probably do, because most of my classes are attended by people who've already attended other classes, which is really nice to know. But if you don't know me, that's me. I'm the guy in the picture. My name is Frank Kern. I live in San Diego, California. That's my wife, Natalia, there on the left with a picture of me. We've got 4 children between the two of us. These are my 2 older daughters. That's Ava and Nora. And these are my 2 toddlers. That's my son, Sasha, and that's my little girl, Katya, there on the right. And boy, are those 4 a handful. Of course, none of that's particularly relevant to you. I would like to introduce myself. Here's what is relevant to you. I have been selling things on the internet every day for almost 6,205 days. I know it says years there. That's a typo. I've been doing this every single day for almost 6,205 days. That's 17 years. I started in October of 1999. I've grown the business over all types of different things I've sold, and currently the business sells around $13,000 worth of my personal products and services per day. On average, that does not include royalties from consulting clients and distributions from companies that I have royalties in, or rather equity in, which is great. So that's a pretty good business. I'm really happy with it. I'm lucky that I have customers and subscribers in almost every single country on earth, with the exception of Zimbabwe and Uganda. I checked. I don't have anybody there, but maybe soon. And I get to be an advisor to celebrity entrepreneurs like Anthony Robbins and thousands of other entrepreneurs globally. So if you want to check out some of my interviews with Tony Robbins, or maybe some of my interviews with Brendan Burchard, who gives me way more credit than I'm due for his personal success, you might want to find some of those on YouTube if you're feeling pretty bored. But anyway, that's me. So that's the guy that you're talking to here. I'm the one in the middle. So enough about me. You don't care about me. I know you're here for you. So let me ask you a question. Let's get to work. Here's the question. If you disappeared for a month, would your business continue to grow and profit without you? And what I mean by that is, let's say that I called you up and was like, hey, let's go to Fiji, and let's just randomly go to Fiji for a month, and let's just hang out and not take phones or laptops or anything. And let's just, take up, I don't know, beach volleyball or something, and see if we can get really good at that. And what I want you to wonder and really answer is, if you came back a month later, would you have more money in the bank a month later than you did when you left? So 30 days from now, would you come back from Fiji with more money in the bank than you did today? Well, if you hesitated, or if your answer was no to that question, that means your business is broken. And we're going to fix it today, because if you don't have consistency in your business, if you can't leave that business for a month and have systems in place that are going to continue to bring in revenue, you don't actually have a business. What you really have is like worse than a job, because you have none of the benefits of a job, but all the bad stuff. So the bad stuff is that you have to show up and you have to do something, right? That's kind of what's not cool about a job, but you don't have any of the benefits. You don't have any guaranteed money. You don't have any stability. You don't have any of that kind of stuff. So it's like you have all the bad stuff of having a job, but none of the stability. So if you answered no to that question, or if you hesitated, then it really needs to be addressed. Here's some more symptoms of a broken business, by the way. So if any of these sound familiar, you really want to pay attention and implement what I'm going to show you because it can help you. So first of all, do you ever wonder where the revenue is going to come from? Have you ever had this where you like, last month was awesome or pretty good, and now it's a new month, and you're like, what am I going to do this month? What are we going to do to get revenue? Where's it going to come from? Gosh, you ever struggled to meet payroll or something? My gosh, how stressful, Or do you ever find yourself, you're running the business and it's almost like you're wearing every single hat in the business, and there's just so much stuff to do that you can't really get anything done. Like you can't even go get more revenue because you're too busy doing the stuff that doesn't even produce revenue. Or you ever find yourself stuck in the sell, do cycle? That's when you work really, really hard and you make a lot of revenue and everything's great. And then you go and you fulfill on all the promises you made when you were bringing in the money. And while you're fulfilling on all those promises, you're not actually getting any new customers. So by the time you're done with that, you need to go get some more money, and then you got to go sell a bunch of stuff again. You ever had that? That's called the sell, do cycle. It's terrible. There's nothing but stress. You're sprinting all the time. It's like sprint, rest. Awful. No fun. That's not what you signed up for, probably, Do you ever find it where your revenue comes in spikes, like it's a feast or famine type of thing? A lot of folks who do product launches and they depend on product launches experience this. Of course, there's nothing wrong with the product launch model, but it's a bonus. It's not a business model, So if you ever have that feast or famine thing, that's a symptom of a broken business. It's a serious matter. Or have you ever noticed a competitor? Someone who started after you got started. You've been in your business longer. You're better at what you do, but you notice this person is more successful than you, and it just drives you crazy. You ever experience the emotional roller coaster of business? Man, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. We went to lunch, and he was telling me about when he first started, and the same thing happened to me. It wasn't even when I first started. It was like the first 5 or 10 years in business, where you'd have a pretty good day in sales yesterday, and then it's around 12 o'clock today, and you look and you check your sales, and they're not really that good. And then the whole day is ruined because you're all freaked out that today's sales aren't good. The emotional roller coaster of being an entrepreneur. If you experience any of this stuff, those are symptoms of a broken business. And a broken business desperately needs to be repaired. And when it is repaired, life is amazing. Here's what a strong business looks like. First of all, customers come to you, and they do so predictably and consistently through an automated lead generation and sales process. Highly leveraged, highly automated. Here's what I mean by that. Today and every single day, I know that no matter what I do, on average, I'm personally going to get an average of 112 new customers. On average, doesn't matter. I could be in Fiji. I don't really want to go to Fiji, but if I wanted to go, I could go, and the whole time I was there, I would get on average 112 new customers because I have that system. Here's another strong business characteristic, and that is your leads, the people who come into your sales system, they are converted into customers, they're converted into sales, into buyers, with as little human effort and interaction as possible, and sometimes with none. Now, I don't mean you need to be a hermit and never talk to people when I say as little human effort and interaction, but here's what I do mean. So I know a lot of people on this training are from all kinds of different businesses, and I know a pretty good chunk of folks, because of the nature of my work, are selling things where you're selling something that's relatively expensive. And in order to get that sale, you need to actually have a conversation with your customer, right? So you might be an attorney, or you might be a service provider, or a coach, or a consultant. Well, those models often entail you needing to talk to somebody. Well, we've all experienced this, right? Because I'm in the same business. Our business, we talk to people a lot of times to get our sales. So which would you rather do? Now, let's imagine that for every 5 people you talk to, you're going to convert one of them into a sale, right? So I'm just kind of giving you some examples. And let's imagine that it takes an hour per conversation to have that sales conversation. And sure, you're compensated well for every sale, and that's great. So you invest 5 hours, you get one sale. Now, which would you rather do? Invest 5 hours and get one sale, you're talking to 5 people, or only talk to one person and get that one sale, and then take your other 4 hours and do whatever you wanted to? That's what I mean. You can actually have a system in place that filters out just the people who are most likely to buy, and then you only focus on those people. Or, of course, if you don't actually have to talk to somebody, then you just get sales automatically, you're selling less expensive things or whatever, you're selling physical goods, then you need a system where your prospects are converted into sales consistently with 100% automation. That is a sign, a characteristic of a very strong business. Here's another one. You're only focusing on money-making activities. That means your grunt work is handled by systems and automation. That means you do less stuff, but you generate more revenue. What do I mean? Well, I'll give you an example from my personal business. So in my company, we advise other companies to how to grow revenue by leveraging systems and automation. I also provide a lot of marketing advice on how to create advertising campaigns that work, and et cetera. So for me, in my business, what generates revenue for me is to do that work, to actually provide the advice, and to actually do the marketing. That means actually write copy, create videos, do presentations like this. This is the stuff I get paid to do. The stuff that I do not get paid to do is build web pages, figure out how to integrate an automated system like an autoresponder with a shopping cart or whatever. Like, I know how to do all of that, but that doesn't generate the revenue for me. So in an ideal business, a strong business, you're only doing the stuff that pays you. And all the other stuff is leveraged. It's done by systems and automation, right? That is a perfect scenario. And finally, the end goal of all of this is to have your business actually be an asset, not a job, an asset that produces passive or at the very least semi-passive revenue. What that means is it's paying you, but you're not physically having to do that much, right? In some cases, you can do literally nothing. It's completely hands-off. And in some businesses like mine, you got to do a little bit of stuff. Like I do a little bit in my business. I actually do things like this. I build these types of systems. I advise my higher-end clients personally. But, I'll tell you, between you and I, it doesn't take but maybe 5 to 10 hours a week to do all of that actual delivery of stuff that pays me. So that's what a strong business looks like. You want to just do the stuff that makes you money and then discard all the other stuff and have all that free time left to either enjoy your life or invest that time doing more stuff that makes you money, right? So here's how to make that happen. There are really 3 fundamental shifts that you want to make in order to do that, to have a business of total freedom where you're only doing the stuff that you enjoy that pays you and all the bad stuff is automated. So number 1, you want to think like a billionaire, not like a marketer. I'll illustrate that here in a minute, but that's critical. Once I made that shift, that's probably the single most important shift that I made in my business, was to look at what billionaires do and model their thinking and their behavior. And when I did, boom, doubled the business. The second one is to work with human nature instead of against it. This is a sales and marketing technique I'll show you here in a minute. And finally, you want to work less and let systems do the rest. That doesn't mean I'm not trying to hype you up and say, hey, you're going to sit on the beach and get rich or anything like that. What I mean when I have that work in parentheses, I'm talking about doing the grunt work that doesn't pay you. You want to do none of that. Let systems take care of that and either maintain the level of stuff you're doing now that actually pays you and then have a lot of free time, or either reclaim that time and do more of what pays you and make more money. Those are your 2 choices. But either way, you can't do either of those things unless you let systems do the stuff that's not paying you. So let's talk about step number 1. That is do what billionaires do. I showed you a picture of Tony Robbins and I earlier. I've been a student of his since I think 2001. I went to his first event and met him. And now I've been a friend of his since 2007 or 2008. I can't remember. I've written some campaigns for him, and I've even built some products with him and been to his home and interviewed him and all. He's just a cool guy. And one of the things that I learned from him is he said, if someone's getting the results that you want to get, you need to find out what they're doing and model it. Doesn't that make sense? I mean, it does to me. I was like, well, that's really basic, but I can't find any holes in it. I think I'll test it out. So what I did is I started studying billionaires. It's like, well, gosh, so many people in marketing and business study other people that are on their level in marketing and business, and I wanted to study people who were light years ahead of me. So I started looking at billionaires, and I realized that their number 1 behavior is that they multiply money through leveraging assets. And there are 2 phrases in that sentence there. Multiply money is phrase number 1. Leveraging assets is phrase number 2. Let me give you an example. So here you see Warren Buffett, he's on your left, and another fellow named Carl Icahn. And these guys are kind of known, you probably know who they are anyway, but in case you don't, they're kind of known as being like the smartest money-making people around ever. Their names are synonymous with brilliance in making money. And I went to this website. I actually searched for a while on Google to find out what their returns are, how much money they actually make per year on a percentage basis. Warren Buffett makes 20% growth rate on the money. That means he multiplies money. He takes a lump sum of money, X. He leverages assets, and at the end of a year, he has 20% more. He multiplied the money by 20%. Carl Icahn's actually doing a little bit better, according to the most recent study. He's at 31%. Okay? So doesn't that make sense? So you put it, basically what they're doing is they have something where they're putting $1 in, and they're getting, in Warren Buffett's case, $1.20 out at the end of a year, and Carl Icahn's case, $1.31 out at the end of a year. What assets are they leveraging? Well, they're leveraging publicly traded companies. They're leveraging funds, right? They're leveraging their own personal expertise and things like that. Let me give you an example from a completely different world. This is a 2-week snapshot. This is my dashboard. I use a little application called wickedreports.com to keep up with all of my sales and stuff. So you'll notice I just kind of chose a 2-week period from August 1st until August 15th here of this year, 2016. And you'll notice the dates. And what I want you to look there is that blue box where it says Facebook. I'm showing you my Facebook revenue specifically in that blue box. I'll zoom in on it for you. Here's what happened. I multiplied money. You see where it says costs, $24,503.82. That's the money that I stuck into a marketing campaign. I invested that money into a marketing campaign. And then as a result of that and leveraging the assets of the marketing campaign, I got back $102,349.40. That is almost a 400% growth in a 2-week period. Mr. Buffett and Mr. Icahn are getting 20% and 31% returns over the course of a year. This got me 400% growth in 2 weeks. Does it mean I'm better than them? Of course not. Good Lord. They're using a lot bigger numbers than I am. They would laugh at, they'd be like, okay, great. So you made whatever, 75,000. Who cares? We made that in a second or whatever. But for guys like me, it's pretty good, right? I can happily stick 25 in, $1 in, and get $4 out. That's basically what I'm doing. So let me show you specifically what's happening. I'm multiplying money, right? So I'm investing money into the business, and I'm getting more money back than I put in. In this case, I stuck in 24,000. I got back 102,000, and I'm doing that by leveraging assets. So where guys like Warren Buffett, the billionaires, are leveraging assets like publicly traded companies, real estate, all of that kind of stuff, I'm leveraging different assets. I'm leveraging the type of assets that you and I create. Here's an example. Number one, the ad. This is what one of my ads look like. So this is some of the ads that I'm spending money on. You see where it says costs over there on the left? That cost is going to show people this ad. They're going and they're looking, after they click the ad, they're seeing videos, they're seeing sales letters, and all of that stuff is being given to them by an automated marketing system. All 4 of those things are assets, right? That's how I'm generating the revenue, by multiplying money through leveraging assets, just like billionaires do. So if you're not doing that in your business, you're basically on a hamster wheel, and that's no good, right? You basically want to be able to write small checks to cash bigger checks. And the way we do that is by leveraging assets that we create in our business. So the second step here, I'm going to show you, by the way, how to build this stuff in a minute. I'm just giving you the strategy right now. We'll get to the tactics here in a second. All right, so our second step is to anticipate human nature and go with it. This is now marketing. This is a tactical marketing idea, right? So here's the thing. When you have a business, which you do, you're getting leads in the business, right? That might mean people walking into your storefront. That's probably, in our situation, it means people entering their name and email address on a web form to get more information from you. That's a lead. Well, you really have 3 types of leads, and they kind of fall into little buckets like this. So around 3% of those people are ready to buy now. They're like, yeah, I'm interested in this stuff. I'm looking for a solution. I want to buy something right now. Give me, show me what you got. Then we don't sell all 3 of those, or all 3% of those people, but that's who we got there. So that's like your tiny little sliver of folks that are like, yep, I'm an easy sale. Just show me what you got. I'll probably buy it. Now, the other 10%, these are people who are interested, and they're looking for solutions. So they're not quite made up their mind to buy, but they're pretty close. They're like, yeah, I'm pretty interested in this. This is the person who bought a house that has a container garden in the house, in their yard, and they've cleaned up the container garden. It's pretty, and now they're wondering what to plant in the containers, and they're thinking about tomatoes, and now they're entering their name and email address to find out more information about tomato gardening, right? They're interested, but they might not be ready to buy yet. They're kind of checking everything out. And then you have these other 87%. These folks are incubating. This means they're like kind of interested, but they're just poking around right now, and they might buy in the next 3 or 4 months, right? So if you look at this, the smallest percentage of people are the ones who are really ready to buy now. And the most people, the greater percentage, the bulk of the people in your business, my business, pretty much everybody's business, they're either interested in looking for solutions, or they're, maybe a couple months away from buying. Here's the thing. Most people, including your competition, and especially your competition, most people treat every single lead like the 3% that are actually ready to buy now. And thankfully for us, they have no systems in place to identify and handle the other 97%. Why is that so great? It's so great because the real money is in the 97% who are not ready to buy now. It's not rocket science to sell to the 3% who are ready to buy now. Pretty good bit of those people will buy. They're like, I'm really hungry. I wish I could get a hamburger. I'm starving. Oh, here's a hamburger. You want it? Yeah. That's how hard that is, right? Your biggest challenge they might say, well, it's got mayonnaise on it. I don't mean to eat mayonnaise. I'm looking for something without mayonnaise or whatever. But the real money is in the people who are like, I'm kind of hungry. I wonder what I should eat. Or, we have a birthday party coming up or an anniversary dinner. Where should we go to eat? That's that 97%. That's where most of your revenue is from. And guess what? Here are facts about those people that most marketing guys try to avoid completely. They just try to pretend none of this exists. First of all, most of the people who see your offer won't buy it. Like, this is obvious, right? But we somehow glaze over this in our minds. We expect every single person is going to want to buy our stuff. So this is normal, right? Most people, like you might have a website, does every single person who comes to your website end up becoming a customer? No, of course not. Doesn't mean your website's bad. It's normal. It's normal human nature that most people don't buy immediately. That's totally normal. Another example is most people who get your email, let's say you have a little automated sequence and you're sending emails to people. Most people who get them, they're not going to click the links in your email to go look at your website or look at the offer you're sending them. Most won't. So think about this. If most actually did that, that means your click-through rate in your emails would be 51%. That would be huge. You would be one of the most famous marketing people ever if you were consistently getting 51% click-through rate in an automated email sequence. It's usually smaller, and that's normal. Most people who opt in and get on your email list, they won't actually read or watch the stuff they opt in for. Think about this. Have you ever given, entered your name and email address on a website to get a free report or watch a video, and you never actually read the free report or watched the video? Of course. Welcome to the club. Most people don't actually read the free report or watch the video. It's normal, right? Hey, most people who register for a webinar won't attend. Most people who registered for this webinar today, they're not going to show up. That doesn't mean the webinar's bad. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. It means they're on the internet. The internet is the most attention deficit disorder media in the world. It's amazing that anyone gets anything done on the internet because there's so many distractions. But as marketers, we tend to want to treat everyone the same. Like, yeah, you're supposed to order right now. That's why people hate marketers, because they're always shoving things down your throat and being super aggressive. They're not actually treating you according to what you're really interested in doing. Hey, most people who attend webinars won't buy. Interestingly enough, I don't actually have anything you can buy on today's presentation, but if I did, I bet that most people, meaning more than 50%, I bet that 51% would not buy. That's normal, right? Doesn't mean the webinar's bad. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the attendees. It's simply normal human nature. But here's the thing. If you have systems to address each of those situations I just mentioned, you're light years ahead of someone else. So if we know, for example, that everybody who opts into your email is not going to read the free report that they opted in for, what if you had a system in place to identify who those people were and then send them something that might pique their interest on another topic that's related to the outcome that they want? Gosh, think about that. Now you're re-engaging them. What if you knew that, well, you do know. What if you know that everyone who registers to see a presentation isn't going to attend, and you were able to identify the ones who did not attend and then give them an alternative way to get information from you and to make a buying decision? There's so much to this. It's based on something I call lead compounding. And lead compounding is built on the foundation of a phrase that I've coined. It's called behavioral dynamic response. And here's what that means. We're going to sound scientific for a minute, but I promise you this isn't complicated. And you're really going to see how uncomplicated it is when I show you the diagrams of how everything works. But here's what it means, okay? This means that you are dynamically marketing to leads based on their behavior automatically. What does that mean, dynamically? That means the marketing message changes based on what the lead does. Why would I send the same marketing message to someone who did not read the free report as I would to the one who did read the free report? That's crazy. That would be like owning a restaurant and treating everyone like they had the steak. Like saying, hey, did you enjoy your steak? Well, no, dude, I ordered chicken. Oh, gosh, I'm sorry, right? That's the same thing. You want to dynamically change the marketing messages you're sending people based on what they're doing. That creates something called message to market match, which increases your conversion. Here's the thing. Leads are created differently based on what they do, or they're treated differently, rather, based on what they do. You know who clicks, you know who doesn't. You automate your next steps based on that. You know who did not finish a video, and you automate the next steps based on the fact that they didn't finish the video. You re-engage them in another way. You know who completed your video but didn't buy, and you automate the next steps. You know who didn't show up for a presentation, and you automate the next steps. And most importantly, you know who's on the edge of buying, and you automate the next steps. So here's something I can guarantee you if you have a database of prospects that you currently communicate with. There is a pocket of people in your database who are on the edge of buying from you. And they just need a little bit of extra information. They might even need some personal interaction. Did you know that you can automatically determine who those people are based on their behavior and then automatically send them a little tiny marketing campaign that pushes them over the edge, maybe even offers them a little bit of extra personal attention or whatever to get them to buy? Just doing that type of stuff has doubled our business. I'm going to give you the campaigns and how it works. I'll show you the diagrams here in a minute. First, let me show you step number 3, and that is work less and let systems do the rest. Here it is. You got 2 types of work you can do in your business. You got bad work and good work, right? This is really elementary, but this stuff is really simple when you break it down to just the facts and the logic. So here's bad work for me. Every business is different. Your business might be different. Your preferences might be different. I'll give you my examples. For me, bad work is constantly reinventing the wheel. Like that would be a total waste of my time. If I create a product, I sell the product, and then I got to go create a brand new product and brand new marketing and all that stuff. That's just not smart. That is not a sustainable thing. And the minute I stop creating new stuff and reinventing the wheel, I'm out of business. That's bad work, right? Reactive promotions, that's bad work. Where I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get some money. I better create a new promotion and pull a rabbit out of the hat. That's bad work. That is not a good use of my time. Trying to figure out tech stuff, not a good use of my time, right? Probably not a good use of your time. Laying out websites and things like that. Are you kidding me? I'm not a tech guy. I'm 44. I'm from Macon, Georgia. That's where I was born. I do not know how to do tech stuff. That was not a good use of my time. Might not be a good use of yours either. Anything basically that doesn't produce revenue in the business, that's bad work. It doesn't mean you're a bad person for doing it, but it's kind of like, why are you doing this? This does not move you towards where you want to go. I'll give you the contrast, which is good work, right? So good work is creating new products that people want, right? Good work is crafting offers. Good work is closing sales. Good work is building assets. Let me give you an example. Last year, I sold close to $1.5 million worth of products based on offers and marketing systems that I created in 2013. That's 2 years ago. I created them 3 years ago, but they were created 2 years ago. They brought in $1.5 million, and they were made 2 years ago. I did nothing to create them. I simply leveraged the asset to multiply my money. That's what I mean. Every product and every marketing system, if done correctly, can be an asset that continues to pay you long after you create it. How do you do it? Well, you do it through automation. So let me walk you now through these automations. The first one, and I'm going to show you the 3 campaigns. So these are the 3 big automated campaigns that are generating leads, and they're turning leads into customers for my business. And maybe you can model these if you want to. So I'm going to draw the maps out for you. Feel free to draw them along with me. It's pretty cool. The first one is called the dynamic auto launch. This is a dynamic automated product launch. This is good for converting cold traffic from advertising. That means you get people who don't know you. They opt into your campaign and they become customers. So it works for that. It's also good to deploy to an existing list. So if you have a database of prospects already, you can put them in this campaign and sell them some things. This campaign is appropriate for higher ticket information products. It's also appropriate for high margin physical goods. It wouldn't make sense if you're selling something really inexpensive. So if you're under maybe $200, then this is probably overkill. You probably are. It's like hammering a nail with a sledgehammer. But if you're selling information or physical goods that have margins, a profit of over $200 per sale, this is perfect. So you're really, really going to like this. Let me show you how it works. This is cool. I did these automations myself, by the way, in Keynote. I just got really excited about it and really wanted to make this cool for you. So I hope you enjoy this. I had fun making these charts. I got to tell you that. So here's the deal. We take traffic and we send it to an opt-in page, right? So this is my little rendering of an opt-in page here. So this could be traffic coming from your Facebook ads or Google AdWords ads or YouTube ads, or it could be people on your existing list, right? And we're going to say, hey, opt in to learn some cool stuff, right? So usually they're going to opt in for a video or a report. Fairly normal stuff, right? They're going to get some sort of information. So when they opt in, we got 2 choices. Here's what your competitors are going to do. Your competitors are going to immediately give them the thing they opted in for. But what do we know with 100% certainty? We know with 100% certainty that not every single person who opts in to get the free stuff is going to actually pay attention to the free stuff. So why in the world would we treat everybody like they did? So here's how you do it instead, and this is cool. Instead of immediately just giving them a page that has the thing that they opted in for on it, instead, we show them a page that says, hey, thanks, check your email. We've sent you a link to get the stuff you opted in for, and then we email them something called a quick sequence. A quick sequence is usually a multi-day series of emails that says, hey, here's the thing you opted in for. Go here to get it. Really, really simple. Nothing obnoxious. They asked you for the information. You're simply staying in contact with them to make sure they get it. So during the sequence, two things can really happen. They can either click or not, right? That's really all that's going to happen. They're either going to click and go check it out, or they're not during this click sequence. So if they don't click it, we know. If they're not clicking that thing they opted in for, there's no point in treating them like they did. We're not getting their interest. We need to put them in another campaign. What are we doing here? We're going with human nature. We're anticipating human nature, right? Remember I said step 2, anticipate human nature? We know they didn't click, so we're going to just boop, pop them in another campaign. Might show them something else that's going to be interested. But if they do click, now we're going to send them the typical things that you might see in a product launch. So they're going to go and they're going to go see video number 1. Then they're going to watch video number 2. We're going to email them that. And then we're going to email them video number 3. You're familiar with how product launches work. At the end of a pre-launch sequence, what do you have? You have that part of the product launch where people say, hey, the thing is now available, but it's going to go away soon. As a matter of fact, what are the two things that make product launches work? It's anticipation. Let's see if you can see my mouse. I think you can. Hope you can see my mouse here. It's anticipation. That's built in these videos, right? And then it's scarcity. And that's when you say the thing's available, but it's going to expire soon. Well, we can automate all of that. And that's what I do in my business. That's what I recommend you do as well. So the thing that you put them into now is something called a countdown sequence. And the countdown sequence is simple. It's just a series of emails that drive them to the sales page. And every email says, hey, this thing is going to go away in X days, but here's what's really cool about it. It actually puts the date in there for real. So if your thing's going to expire in 4 days, it's going to put the date 4 days from today in these emails. It's going to say, warning, this thing expires, on whatever, September 95th, right? That's not a real date, by the way. And it's going to put it. And so if the guy comes in, he's going to see the real date. And guess what? It really does expire. So anytime during this click sequence, really two things can happen. He can either click and buy or not, right? Really basic. Well, if he doesn't, then what are we going to do? We're not going to treat him like he's super interested. We're going to put him to the next campaign. If he does buy, we're going to stop, right? So if he doesn't buy, he goes to the next campaign. So it's really, really simple here. Now, one thing I want to show you, though, is this little green button. You might be wondering what this is, early bird. Well, let's imagine this. We know that we know this as fact. About 3% of people that are coming in here, basically statistically speaking, about 3% of them are going to be ready to buy now. Well, doesn't it make sense to give them the option to buy now? Well, here's how you do that. Every one of these pre-launch pages has something called an early bird list that they can opt in for, right? You've probably seen this in product launches. So, hey, get on the early bird list. We'll let you know when it's available ahead of everybody else. Well, guess what? If they opt into the early bird list, we can have something called an early bird sequence automatically deployed. So when they click this little link here, they're going to go to an early bird opt-in page, and then they're going to be placed in a 24-hour countdown sequence. That's going to say, hey, you opted in for the early bird list. Guess what? You can get it right now. We're going to send them about 3 emails. The emails are going to have the expiration timer information in them, and if they don't buy in 24 hours, then they no longer have that early access. If they do buy, we're not going to bother them anymore. But if they don't, that's okay. They're still going to go into the regular countdown sequence and see the other videos just like normal, right? So all we're doing in this process is we're just taking some of those 3% of people who want to buy now, and we're using that revenue to pay for some of the expenses we incurred in getting them to become leads in the first place. And hey, if you do it right, and if all stars line up, you'll actually turn a profit right here before the majority of your leads even go through the rest of your funnel, which is amazing, right? That's great. That doesn't happen every time, and that's what we're designing it to do. So you're getting some of your revenue early, and the ones who aren't ready to buy, you put them through all of these sequences, and if they don't actually pay attention, they go into the next campaign. See how powerful that is? So what do we do with these guys? Well, let's just say that someone opts in here. They're opting in for an automated launch. You send them free, 3 cool videos, and you tell them about the thing that's available, and they either don't click the videos or they don't buy. Well, we got 2 choices. We can just give up, or we can just bombard them with affiliate offers and be obnoxious or whatever, or we could plan ahead for it and have a backup plan. And that is what the next campaign can be for. So the next campaign is something called an automated webinar. This is different than any automated webinar you've ever seen because it is dynamic, meaning we change what we're doing based on the behavior of your prospects. So this is really good for converting cold traffic from ads. I get a tremendous amount of revenue by advertising automated webinars to cold traffic. You can also use this on your existing list. So if someone's been on your list, like they came through that automated launch and they didn't purchase or they didn't click, boom, that's who I'm talking about right there. They can go into an automated webinar. This works really well for higher ticket information products, so stuff with over $100, $200. That's great. If you're selling consulting or professional services or group coaching or masterminds, this is great to sell those. I have even built an automated webinar for a client of mine. The client's called Memphis Invests, and we built an automated webinar that was played to cold traffic, meaning they came into the system through paid ads, and it sold actual houses. I'm not talking about information about buying houses. It sold actual investment property. Now, of course, they didn't enter their credit card number on the webinar to buy a house. They signed up to talk to somebody from the company, and then those conversations resulted in selling houses. And we did so at a profit, I might add. So automated webinars are phenomenal. They're absolutely phenomenal in terms of generating sales from people who don't already know you. And the cool thing is you can actually help them in advance of asking for the money, so it builds up a lot of really, really goodwill. And here's something else I discovered. And remember, I'm testing this like crazy. I spend on average about $1,000, $2,000 a day just advertising things that lead to webinars. So what I learned over the past year and a half of really analyzing this is that people who opt in for webinars from cold traffic, they're worth more long-term than people who opt in to get like a free report or something. And I think the reason why is because when someone opts in to attend a webinar, they're opting in to learn something specifically, and they're committing time to do so. They're opting in to show up and watch something at a certain time on a certain date. So that indicates that they're higher up towards that top of the pyramid of being ready to buy now. So how does an automated webinar campaign work? Dynamically. Well, let me show you. So we can get them into the webinar from 2 different ways. First of all, let's say they were on that automated launch and they didn't click or they didn't buy. Well, boom, we pop them in the next campaign. That's going to be something called an invite sequence. All that is a fancy way of saying a couple of days of emails inviting them to the webinar. Or if they're not on your list, they could come from Facebook ads or YouTube ads or Google AdWords or from wherever. Regardless, you're driving traffic to a webinar registration page, which is what? It's an opt-in page, right? They're opting in to register for the webinar. And right now, really only 2 things can happen. They can either opt in and register or not, right? So we say, well, did they register or not? So that's relevant to these guys, right? We can really kind of have a contingency plan here. If they're coming from paid media and they don't register, well, there's really nothing we can do. But if they're on your list and they don't register, what can we do? Well, if they don't, we put them in the next campaign. But if they do, now we're cooking, right? So first thing we want to realize is people who don't register, we don't want to treat them like people who did. The people who do register, we want to treat them very special. So if you think about a webinar, what is our next step? Is to get them to show up, right? I mean, doesn't that make sense? We want to do everything we can to actually get them to show up because we know what? Is every single person who registers for a webinar going to show up? No, they simply won't. It's human nature. So what can we do to make that show up rate a little higher? Well, what I discovered is we send them something called an indoctrination sequence. And that's a series of videos that you send to people before the webinar that provides them some good information in advance. You don't try to sell anything. You're not obnoxious. You're like, hey, thanks so much for registering. Here's some of the things you're going to learn. I really hope you enjoy it. And if you want to get this result, then this is for you. You can send 1 video. You can do 2, 3. It doesn't matter. You want to send something. You want to send them some goodwill to really demonstrate you can help them by actually helping them in advance. And the reason this is important is because when somebody is attending a webinar, they're giving you their most valuable asset, which is their time. And we're in a time-crunched society. Everybody's in a hurry. Nobody has time. So selling them, quote unquote, on the idea of giving you their time isn't just as easy as saying, hey, I have a webinar. you want to really do a good job to make sure most of them show. So we do that in that little sequence. So after you send them the sequence and, you send them the reminder sequence and then they're supposed to show up for the webinar, there's really only a couple things that can happen. Number one, do they show up or not? Well, what do we know, statistically speaking? Is most of them going to show up? Nope. Most of them are not going to show up. So what do we do if they don't show? It's simple. We re-invite them. We don't send them 9 million replays of the webinar that they didn't show up for in the first place. All that's going to do is train them to never show up. Instead, we say, hey, you missed it. That's okay. I know you get busy, which is normal. Of course they get busy. It's the internet. They're busy. Everybody's busy. You're busy. I'm busy. We say, okay, hey, I'm doing another one. You can attend here. We send them to a registration page. They can either register or not. If they don't register, no problem. We put them in the next campaign, right? That's no worries. We have a backup plan. If they do register, now we say, well, did they show? So basically, what we're doing right now, regardless of whether they missed it the first time, we're just looking at, hey, did they show up or not, right? And what do we do if they do show up? Well, of course, we show them the cool webinar, but there's all kinds of stuff that can happen. So if they don't show up here, they're in the next campaign. But if they do, now follow along with me over here. I had to sort of make my lines coming over here because it's a big blueprint. If they do show up, we have a lot of choices. First of all, did they stay long enough to see the pitch, to see your offer? Will everybody stay long enough to see your offer, or will some of them just stay the first couple minutes and then get distracted? Of course, not everybody is going to see the offer, so what do we got to do? Well, we want to treat the people who left early differently, but let's assume they did see the offer. What are we going to do? Well, they can't buy unless they see the offer, so first of all, we're going to say, well, did they buy or not, right? Well, if they did buy, then we're not going to send them anything else regarding this promotion because they're out. They purchased. There's no point in bothering them any further. But what if they didn't buy? Are most of them who see the offer here going to buy? No, of course not, right? That's normal. So we need a backup plan. What if they see the offer but they don't buy? And here's where we really start getting different. What we do here is we want to deploy something called an objection handling sequence. Now, you can do things in two different ways. You really have three choices. For people who show up and don't buy, you can do nothing. So a lot of people do that. Or you can send them a replay of the very same webinar that didn't convert them in the first place. That's what your competitors are doing. Now, do you think that's a good idea? I mean, really, it didn't work the first time. Let's send it to them 10 more times. It doesn't make sense, right? So how do we re-engage them? Well, think about this, okay? Don't you think that the more times you ask for an order to an interested person, right? The more times you ask for the order, the higher your chances of getting the sale are. Of course, right? I mean, it just makes sense. What we want to do is we want to ask for that order in a way that's not annoying. So what we do is we have this objection handling sequence here. And an objection handling sequence is a series of videos that takes their objections, because why aren't they buying? Right? I mean, think about this. It's not like they registered, showed up, stayed the entire time and didn't buy because they don't want it. Obviously, they want the results. Otherwise, they wouldn't have stayed this long. The reason they haven't bought yet is two things. Number one, they're procrastinating, which is normal. Or number two, they have some additional questions. What this is designed to do is to take those additional questions and answer them in a very helpful video form. And I learned this in one of the first webinars I did that was unbelievably successful. It sold a consulting class. And basically what I knew is one of the big questions people had was they'd say, you know what, this really makes sense, but nobody has ever heard of me. So after the webinar was done, I sent out a video that said, hey, thank you so much for attending. I'm getting a lot of questions and people are saying this makes sense, but nobody's ever heard of me. How do I deal with it? And I taught them how to deal with it. And it was pure content. It was maybe 15 minutes. It wasn't a big deal. And at the end of the video, guess what I did? I restated the same offer I made in the webinar. And the more times you do that, the more times you can restate your offer, the more value you're demonstrating to your prospect, and the more sales you're going to get. So at this point, one of two things can happen. They can either say, man, that was really helpful. I'm going to go ahead and buy this, or they don't, right? Well, if they do buy it, then we're not going to send any more stuff. But if they don't buy it, why do you think they haven't? Let's think about this logically. Let's really remember step number 2 is always anticipate human nature. So they registered for your presentation. They showed up. They stayed all the way till the end. They didn't buy it. They're probably interested. They watched your objection handling videos. They're clearly interested, right? But they still haven't purchased it yet. Why do you think they haven't? It's definitely not because they don't want it. You know what the number one reason is? Procrastination. right? Haven't you done it? I mean, I've done it. Maybe I'm the only one. Let's just say I'm the only person, right? But I'll do things. I'll want something and I'll go and I'll like, oh, I don't have my credit card on me. I don't feel like going or walking to the other room and getting my wallet and entering the credit card number or whatever. And I just don't buy it because I'm putting it off because I'm on the internet and I'm doing something else because I'm ADD because it's the internet. Well, guess what? Your prospects are the same way, right? So procrastination is what we need to overcome right here. And the way we do it is we create scarcity with something called a countdown sequence. So remember in the automated launch, just like every other product launch, you give some free good content and you say, hey, this thing's available, but it's going away. We put that same concept here at the end of the webinar. We say, hey, listen, this offer that we talked about on the webinar is going to expire. And guess what? In these emails, in the countdown sequence, we're actually putting the real expiration date in here dynamically, and it really does expire. And all of that is done automatically. So if they don't buy after the expiration date, they can't. It's expired. It's not false scarcity or any of that stupid stuff. It's the real thing. So at the end of the countdown sequence, they have two things that can happen, right? Only two things. They can either buy or not. Well, if they do buy, we're not going to send them any more stuff about the webinar because they bought. If they don't buy, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put them in the next campaign. But you know what? There's still a little group of people we need to deal with. And these are the ones who did not see the pitch, right? Because not everybody who attends the webinar is going to stay long enough to see the offer. Doesn't that make sense? Of course, right? Guess what? Most of the ones who attend the webinar are not going to see the offer. So we don't want to ignore them. We don't want to send them the same webinar 10,000 times, right? No. In fact, what we want to do is we just want to go ahead and apply some urgency. So we're going to send them a countdown sequence as well. It's going to be a little different. We're going to word it differently. We're going to say, hey, thanks so much for attending the webinar. It looks like you had to leave early. That's okay. I understand. Life gets in the way. You're very busy. So am I. But you know what? You missed the best part. You registered for this webinar and you showed up and you did that because you really want results. And that's why I've created this product. And you talk about your product, but this product offer is going to go away in X amount of time, and that countdown sequence is all automated. It puts your dates in the emails and everything, and it makes it actually expire. At the end of that, you got two things that can happen. They can either buy or not. And we do the same thing, right? If they don't buy, we put them in the next campaign. If they do, we stop, right? We don't mention the webinar anymore. Maybe we'll put them in a campaign to sell something else. But regardless, no matter what happens, the behavior of this lead is measured, and we have a backup plan. So what's our backup plan? Well, it's another campaign. It's this next campaign right here. So what is it? Well, this is one I consider to be the holy grail. This is called the 4-Day Cash Machine 2.0. So if you've known me for a long time, I made one campaign structure very famous years ago called the 4-Day Cash Machine. It's a 4-day campaign that's really used to generate quick revenue to an existing list. Well, I've upgraded that strategy, and now it can be used for cold traffic as well. So if you're advertising something and you want to get fresh leads and convert them into sales, you can use this campaign. You can use it for your existing list, of course. This is good for all information products. If it's inexpensive, if it is expensive, it doesn't matter. You can even use this to generate appointments if you're selling, consulting or coaching or professional services or whatever. And if you're selling it, if you're doing something to your existing list, it can really represent an unbelievable surge of cash, which is great, right? So let me show you how it works. This is really cool. So we start, let's assume they went through your automated webinar. Now imagine this, by the way. We ran an ad, someone opted in, they went through the automated launch, they didn't buy or they didn't click or whatever. Now they've gone through an automated webinar, they didn't buy or they didn't click. Are we giving up? Heck no, man. We have this other campaign. So they can either come from Facebook or YouTube or Google Ads, and if they do that, we're going to send them to an opt-in page. That opt-in page is going to say, hey, get a free video or a free report that reveals something cool, right? And then we're going to put them into a click sequence. Okay, and so you know how a click sequence works, but guess what? They can also come from your existing list, right? So in that example I gave you a minute ago where, hey, they went through the automated launch, they went through the automated webinar, they didn't click or they didn't buy, boom, we just put them straight into the click sequence. They don't need to opt in, right? Blam, they're in that click sequence. What's the click sequence doing? It's giving them a page. It's sending them to a web page, and that web page shows a video. And there's a timer at the top, and the video is educational. So this click sequence and this copy here, this is saying, hey, let's say free video reveals how to grow big tomatoes, right? And the click sequence is saying, hey, you can get a video. I made you this video. It shows you how to grow big tomatoes here. And on this page, you've got the video, and the video is educational. It says, here's how to grow big tomatoes. And it's giving them the big picture of how to grow tomatoes. Hey, there's 3 ways to get tomatoes. And then at the end of the video, you say, if you like this and you're really committed to growing the huge tomatoes, I've got a great offer. It's called the Super Tomato 2000, and you can get it at this discounted price. However, notice the timer at the top of the page. You're mentioning the deadline here, right? This offer is expiring soon, so if you're committed, go ahead and get it right now, right? So that's how this first part of this works. But guess what? Is everybody who clicks, well, first of all, is everybody going to click? Is everybody who comes through this going to go click on that video about growing big tomatoes? No, of course not. So if they don't, we put them in another campaign. We put them back in a different automated launch. We can put them in a different automated webinar about something else, right? Doesn't matter. We don't want to give up on them, though. We can put them in something else. But if they do click, do they buy right away? So some of them are going to go there and go, oh, that's a pretty good deal. I'll buy it right away. Will most of them do that? Of course not, right? They're going to procrastinate. They're going to get distracted, whatever. It's normal. So then what do? We put them in a countdown sequence. If they buy, of course, we stop. But if they don't buy, we put them in a countdown sequence. It's the same strategy. It's referencing that deadline that you mentioned in the videos, referencing that timer at the top of the page. The dates and the times in the email correspond with the countdown timer on the page. So it says, hey, thanks so much for checking out my video about growing giant tomatoes. If you're really serious, you can get this special offer on Super Tomato 2000, but it expires in X days on X date. And guess what? That date is real, and it's an actual date that's dynamically put into the email, and it really does go away. It really does expire. So we're using that scarcity right here to generate that sale. So they can either buy. If they do, it stops. We don't send them anything else about the tomato slicing machine or whatever it is we're selling. And if they don't buy, then we can put them in the next campaign. You see, so here's really a big picture version of how it works. I'm taking traffic from ads or whatever, and I'm putting them in an auto launch, and simultaneously I'm taking traffic from ads and I'm putting them into an automated webinar. It could be for the same product. It could be for a different product. I'm taking traffic from ads or wherever, and I'm putting them into a 4-day cash machine 2.0. And then if people aren't responding in one campaign, I'm putting them into another. And I'm making all of these campaigns work together synergistically. And every campaign and every little element of a campaign, those are assets that I've created. I'm multiplying money by leveraging assets I created. I'm not smart like Warren Buffett. I don't know how to work with publicly traded companies and do all of that kind of stuff. I had to create my own assets, right? But these assets working together, they're responsible for doubling my business already this year. Let me ask you a question. Would your business benefit from these dynamic campaigns? So if I could just like press a button and you just had this, would your business benefit from it? Would that work well for you? Are you like, man, that'd be awesome? Well, if you answered yes, you got 2 choices. Choice number 1 is you can do it yourself, right? And for some of you, it probably makes pretty good sense. If you're super techie, you might want to. Here's what that entails. Everything I do is using an application called Infusionsoft. That's the software that powers everything. I don't own Infusionsoft. I just kind of use it, like I don't own Apple. I just use a Mac computer. So your first thing you're going to need to do is you got to get Infusionsoft and then learn how to use it. A little bit complicated. Some people call it Confusionsoft. I've used it since 2008, so I've gotten a pretty good handle on it by now, but it's taken a while, Then you have to learn how to architect and build and program and debug and publish and implement these campaigns I just showed you. That's doable, certainly doable, all right? But it is a bit of a pain in the butt, I must tell you, in full disclosure. You're also going to have to figure out what to say in the campaigns. What do you say in these emails? What do you say in a click sequence? What do you say in a webinar invite sequence? What do you say in an objection handling sequence? What do you say in a countdown sequence? And how do you make multiple versions of all of that without being obnoxious and repeating yourself? And then what do you say in your web pages? You got to figure out what to say on your sales copy. What do you say in the videos? What do you say on the landing pages? What do you say in your order forms and stuff, right? And then, speaking of order forms and sales video pages and landing pages and all that, you got to figure out how to lay out those pages and make them look cool, and then build them and get them online, and then you got to tie all that stuff together. So if you do it yourself, that's what that entails. The tools you need are Infusionsoft. There's another little tool called Plus This, pretty cheap, pretty sweet, and then you need a web page builder. Right? So you can use whatever you want. So that's how to do it yourself. Your other option is we can do it for you. My office can do this for you. That is part of our business. We are certified Infusionsoft folks, and this is a big part of what we do. We build systems for people. And I'll go ahead and tell you exactly what to do right now. If you want us to do this for you, we're happy to. The fee for doing it is $58.60, but I don't want to actually have you pay for that right now. I would rather you not pay for it until we have a chance to really just make sure that we understand your business and make sure that it's really going to help you. I don't want to actually take the money unless I'm 100% confident in the fact that we can help you, which we usually are. But again, this isn't really appropriate for every single business in the world. So if you're interested in having us do it, here's what I want you to do right now. The fee is $58.60, like I said, and we do everything for you. If you're interested, there's a link you should see on this page, hopefully, if I've done it properly. Go ahead and click on that. It'll ask you for your name and email address and how to get in touch with you. And go ahead and enter that and just press submit. And when you're done with that, you'll just see a quick little multiple choice questionnaire. So this is getting some information about what you're selling and how your sales processes work. And if you would fill that out, we'll take a look at it, and then we'll set up a time to answer your questions and ask you some questions and make sure we're a good match. And if we are, then you can go ahead and become a client. And if we're not, it's no problem. We're not in the high pressure sales business or anything like that. We prefer to, of course, let systems and automations do all the heavy lifting for us, kind of like what you're watching right now. So if you decide to become a client, here's what we do in doing it for you. First thing is we set up your Infusionsoft account for you. So if you're familiar with Infusionsoft, it's an $1,800 setup fee. We can waive that because we're certified partners with Infusionsoft. I've used them since 2008, and I'm also one on their board of marketing advisors, and I've built campaigns for them, as a matter of fact. So anyway, I'm in pretty good with those folks. We can completely waive that setup fee for you. We also set up all your web page templates, and we integrate them with Infusionsoft. That's going to automate all of your stuff for you. Then we install and build 6 different dynamic campaigns for you. So we build and install the 3 that I just showed you, and then there are 3 other ones I just don't have time to show you, but we can tell you about them when you set up a call, if you like. We also pre-populate those campaigns with email copy frameworks. So it's one thing to have the campaigns and the automation, but you still have to know what to say. We go ahead and put swipe files, that's pre-written email templates in there for you, and what you need to do is to simply change the copy to be about your stuff, but you still have the framework, so you know how to say what it is you need to say. And of course, we teach you how to use everything. We do it in 2 ways. Number one, I have video just like this. I have videos walking you through how to do everything and exactly what to say. And number 2, we also give you weekly live coaching calls. And we don't take a lot of clients. So when I say live coaching calls, that doesn't mean you're on there with hundreds of people. That might be you and 5 or 6 other people on the line with our team, just answering your questions and helping you get everything going and tweaking stuff and making sure everything's working. We are basically now your tech department, but instead of having someone on the payroll, you just pay us one time, we do the work for you, and then we're available to you every week for the coaching call. So it's pretty sweet. So if you're interested in this, just go ahead, click the link on this page, and you can apply now. And by apply, I mean just tell us how to get in touch with you, tell us a little bit about how your business works, and if I think we can help you, then we'll answer your questions and do the best we can. And if I don't think we can help you, I'll let you know in advance and not waste your time because I really respect it. I know we can't make more time. So when you work with us, we have 2 teams. There's us, we do some stuff, and you do some stuff. What we do is we set up your web page templates and we integrate them with Infusionsoft. And what that means is you go online when this is all set up and you just type in what you want your headline to be, or you just type in what you want the web page to say, and it's already built. So you don't have any software you have to download. You have to know how to do any of that stuff. Who does know how to do that stuff anymore? That's super hard now. So it's really, really simple. It's already tied together with Infusionsoft. It's built to work, so it's kind of ready to go out of the box. You just edit it. It's kind of like we build the house. You just put the furniture in it, so to speak. We also build and install 6 different dynamic campaigns, just like I showed you. We pre-populate those campaigns with email copy framework, so you know exactly what to say, because let's face it, they're not going to get to your pages unless you say the right stuff in the email, right? They're not going to do anything unless you actually use persuasion tactics in your copy and on your web pages. So we show you how to do all of that. We teach you how to use everything. So we're giving you the car, we're giving you the gas. You need to, paint the car or whatever color you want. You need to choose your hubcaps and stuff. We're also teaching you how to drive the car, so to speak, right? To use that metaphor. And we give you live weekly coaching calls as well. And this isn't like a limited program. We are your tech team now. So it's kind of like having someone on staff, but it doesn't cost you 6 figures a year, which is what a good tech person usually costs. They're very expensive, these tech people. Ask me how I know, right? I've employed several of them. And we set up your Infusionsoft for you, and we waive the fee for you as well, that setup fee, so you don't have to pay it. So that's our job, okay? That's what we handle. So here's what your job is. Your job is to plug in your emails, right? So by plug in, I mean you open the emails that we build, and it's got our swipe files in there, and you just plug those swipe files in with what you want your email to say. So you're basically typing. Pretty simple. So you've written emails before, so it's not pretty hard. You're also going to plug in your copy on the templates, right? And so by the way, this means these are already online. It's already integrated. You don't have to download stuff. You don't have to open up software on your computer. You just go to your web pages that we built for you for every campaign, and where it says your headline here, you type in your headline. And you don't type it in some weird little box and then it shows up. You type it right there on the page. So it's really simple to use. So that's what I mean by that. And then you do stuff that makes money, like create and make more offers and focus on getting money. And you send traffic to the system and you measure it and you tweak it and you send more traffic and you build more products and stuff. So you do the things that, which in my opinion, really gets you more money. So if that sounds good to you, here's what I want you to do right now. First, go ahead, click the button on this page. When you do, you'll see a little form. It'll just ask for your name and email and phone number. And you fill that in. It takes about 5 seconds. So you'll be taken to a super simple questionnaire. It's mostly multiple choice. Ask you what kind of business you're in, what your marketing stuff looks like now. Really, really basic things. It might take you 15 seconds to fill it out. That comes to us here in my office. I review it. I make sure I think we can do a good job. If I don't think we can help you, by the way, if it's premature or whatever, we'll let you know. We won't waste your time on the phone or anything. We're not going to bug you. If we do think we can help, then we'll schedule a call with you. We'll say, okay, let's go ahead and get cracking and answer your questions. And on the call, we take care of you. We make sure that you really understand how everything works. And if you want to become a client, that's great. And if you don't, that's fine too. Right? We are, again, like I want to let you know 100%, we're not in the used car sales industry here. We're not going to pester you. We like to let the value speak for itself. And if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. That's okay. We have systems that produce more leads. We don't need to be obnoxious about it. And I want that same relaxed feeling for you in your business. I want you to also have the confidence to know that you don't have to resort to obnoxious sales tactics or whatever. So rest assured, it will be a very, very pleasant call for you. With that said, there is a bit of a catch, and that is this is limited. We can only accept 22 clients right now. We don't take that many clients every month because we can't. We really don't want to support a tremendous amount of clients. I can't do a good job. So remember I said we have, the weekly coaching calls and stuff. Well, if I take a lot of clients, those coaching calls are going to be huge. You're not going to get your questions answered. You're going to be frustrated. So I'm taking 22 clients right now. This is first come, first served. So all the applications are time stamped. So we'll know first come, first served, and whoever comes first gets, of course, priority, etc. So if this sounds good to you, go ahead and apply now. When you become a client, we install for you that automated launch campaign that I diagrammed for you today. That boom, that's populated into your account. It's got the emails. It's unbelievably cool. You saw how it worked. It's good for turning cold traffic into customers. It's good for use on your existing list. It's a great campaign. It works well. You also get the 4-day cash machine 2.0. This is an incredibly effective campaign. It is a major part of my business. That particular campaign has generated over 7 figures in the past 12 months for me alone just by selling one product, by the way, just to my existing list as like kind of a contingency if they don't buy other stuff. It is very, very good campaign. It really, really works well. I think you're going to love it. You also get the automated webinar system, which is not just in the automated webinar, of course. You're able to follow up with people who show up, who don't. You're going to know who sees the offer. You're going to be able to give them the objection handling sequences, the countdown sequences. It's so much more powerful than anything you're likely used to. And it works very, very well. I'm also giving you a campaign called the Survey Siphon, which is a very big, very sophisticated, really cool campaign. That's one you'll probably want to use every quarter. I'm also giving you the classic 4-day cash machine. So I know a lot of you guys know me already, and you've probably heard of the 4-day cash machine. You might have used it in your own business. I've templated it and automated everything so you can just plug it in. What the 4-day cash machine 1.0 does is different from what I outlined for you today. That's usually best deployed to an existing list, and it's based on a sale. It's based on a discount. And that's something you might want to run every quarter or so. And it's good for generating a cash infusion in your business, kind of like a fire sale or a holiday-based sale. It really, really works well. So you're probably familiar with it already, but I'm giving you that campaign. I'm automating everything for you. You're also getting the invisible offer and email-only campaign. Remember earlier how I was saying, hey, right now in your database, there are probably people who are super interested, but they're just right on that edge and they might need a little bit of personal attention. That's what this campaign campaign is for. It identifies those people, then it sends them an email, and it gives them the ability to reply to a real email, and you will know when they applied or when they replied, and it will put them in a special campaign that follows up with them and queues them up and behaviorally measures them. And when they've done all of the things that you determine for you to step in and actually start talking to these people by email or the phone, it'll queue them up for you. So it takes your ready to buy people right there on the edge and queues them up for you on a silver platter, so you can say, okay, I'm going to reach out to that person and go ahead and close the sale. So it's very, very effective. We use it really, really heavily to sell our more expensive, higher ticket things. It's great. And of course, we set up your Infusionsoft account. That's the machine that powers all this. It takes your orders. It manages affiliates if you want to do that. It has your order forms. It does all the automations and all of that kind of stuff. That's Infusionsoft. We go ahead and we set it up for you. The $1,800 fee is waived. They have a monthly cost at Infusionsoft that we're not associated with, but it's not significant by any means. It's just like any other SaaS tool that you're using online. We also populate every campaign with email swipe files, so you can model them, so you're not going to have to figure out what to say. You're going to take my copy and use your copy or use my copy as a model for yours. So you just change it where it's talking about my stuff and use the same framework to talk about yours. And incidentally, speaking of frameworks, I also give you training on how to write every sequence from scratch if you want to. You might say, I don't really want to write like you, Frank, but I do like this framework, and that's cool. I give you the worksheets and the training to do either one that you want to do. We also set up your landing page templates. That means your sales letter templates, your opt-in pages, your video templates, your value videos, your objection handling sequences, all that stuff, your webinar registration pages. We take care of that for you. So all you do is just change the copy on them, stick your video on there, put your headline on there, etc. And we integrate everything with Infusionsoft for you. So we connect all of the dots. It really is the best analogy I can think of is we build the house and paint it, and then you supply the furniture. You know what I mean? So you just move in with your furniture and stuff. And we show you how to use everything. And we do that by giving you video trainings on how to do it. And I know that, if you're like me anyway, video trainings sometimes aren't enough. So we also give you live weekly calls where you get on, you have basically your own tech support person every single week. So it is really like you're hiring a tech team in your business, but you don't have the payroll and the taxes and all that stuff. So it's pretty sweet. So if that sounds good for you, go ahead and apply now. You can't buy it today. I do want to let you talk to our team and just make sure we can really do a good job. So go ahead and just fill out the little questionnaire thingy, and we'll set up a time to talk. And I think I know you'll enjoy that process. And if we're a good fit, we'll let you know. And if you decide to use this, you're really, really going to love it. And with all of that in mind, let's kind of figure out what it might be like if you did actually decide to use this, or if you built it yourself, but regardless, like what if you actually had all of this? If all this did was give you the consistency and predictability in your business, so you never had to freak out and, wonder where the sales are going to come from. If you just knew that, okay, on average, the business is going to do this much volume in sales and revenue every day, regardless of what I personally do. If you had that peace of mind, would it be worth the investment to you, right? I don't know. That's for you to answer. That's one thing to really consider. If all this did was get you a few extra sales per week, just think of the money, would it be more than you paid? So I don't know what you're selling. There's a lot of people on this training, but let's say you're selling like a $400 or $500 product, or let's say it's less expensive. Let's say you're selling a $300 product and you get, I don't know, an extra sale per day, right? Well, that's $2,100 extra dollars per week in revenue if you're at a $300 product. I mean, it takes you 2 months it takes you like less than a month, and you've made your investment back. So if you think that you could sell more using this, then would it be worth it to get those extra sales? If all this did was free up your time, would it be worth it? If you could just not do stuff that sucked and keep it the same revenue level, but just work less, would it be worth it? What would reclaiming your time and spending that time with your family, or taking up a hobby, or hey, who knows? What if you freed up your time and then you did more stuff that makes more money and you scaled your business and you grew it? Would that be worth it, right? If you were able to leverage assets and multiply money like billionaires do, would that be worth it? Man, I tell you, that one thing, that big shift for me, that was the single biggest thing when I started thinking, oh my gosh, I'm doing this wrong. I don't need to think about promotions and stuff. I need to think about everything like assets and build everything where it can be used for years and years, and just keep accumulating and leveraging these assets and making it grow and grow and grow. Man, when I made that shift, we've literally doubled the business In the past, just like recently, I had a period where we did $400-something thousand of revenue in 15 days. Well, you saw it, right? Those earlier screenshots from August 1st to August 15th. And during that time, my mother came in town on the 2nd of August. She was in town until the 6th of August. And then the 7th and 8th of August, I did a little bit of work. And then the 9th through the 12th of August, I was in Las Vegas. I took my wife to see Jennifer Lopez. She's a huge fan. I'm personally not really that interested in Jennifer Lopez. I took her anyway. I was like, yeah, of course I'll take you to see Jennifer Lopez. Let's have some fun. So we're gone for all those days. And I come back, and then I got back on the 12th. And then the 13th and 14th, I spent time with the kids and hung out and everything. By the 15th, we had done $400,000 in revenue. That I never really thought that actually could happen, and that happened for a lot of reasons. Number one, I've got a lot of experience. I've got really good products. I got really good offers and everything. But the big thing that made all of that tie together and work is I had these systems. I was able to let these systems run while I was away to continually compound the momentum that each one was building. So I was spending money on ads while I was gone. All that was happening automatically, and that money was multiplying itself, and it was great. And people who came into my systems months ago were buying today, because remember, the 3% are going to want to buy now, and 97% are going to want to buy a little bit later, and then a lot later. So we're always mining for gold in those databases as well. So that was a big deal. So really, you have two choices, right? Well, actually, you have three choices, and here they are. And this is really three choices, no matter what kind of decision you're looking at. Number one, you could do nothing, and a lot of people will do nothing. They'll say, well, I'll put it off later, they'll procrastinate. I've done that before. I get it, So that's choice number one. And if you do that and you do nothing, if you put it off, we probably won't have the ability to help you anyway if you don't take action quickly, because like I said, we do this, we're deliberately small. I don't want a giant team doing this. I just want a handful of clients every month. Our prices are enough where we can make a pretty good margin with just a small amount of clients. So it's still a fair price. So if you wait, you're not going to get it. And what's your business going to be like if you don't have this? I don't know. You're here for a reason. It's probably going to remain the same or get worse. So if you don't fix it, it's either going to continue on broken or it's going to get worse. So if you want that, then that's okay. You could, of course, alternately do this yourself, and some folks can do this themselves. I might have some really technical people on the call today, and if I do, that's great. You're far better than me. I actually did all of this myself. So I've been using Infusionsoft since 2008, and man, I figured this stuff out on my own, and it took about 8 years to figure it out on my own. And I got to tell you, I invented new profane words in the vocabulary. I could probably add stuff to Webster's dictionary of just new levels of profanity. It was so frustrating doing all of this stuff by myself and figuring it out. It took forever, and it was such a waste of time, because I could have just had someone who was good at it do it for me. I wouldn't have been mad for, hundreds of hours, and I wouldn't have wasted all that time. I could have gone to the movies with my kids, or goofed off, or whatever, gone surfing or something. I live here in California. That's one of the things I like to do. So that, I did it myself. It took about 8 years to do, and it was a real pain in the butt. So you could do that if you want, or maybe you're really smart and you can just figure it out. I hope you are. If you try to figure it out, I hope you're very, very good at it and can just go ahead and get it quickly done. You don't have the frustration. Or you can just say, it's not really a lot of money anyway. This is business. We make investments in our business. We can let us do it for you. I can give you the very systems that are already working for me, and you'll enjoy them. And you'll be happy. And you know what? I really don't want you to make the decision to make that purchase right now. Instead, I want you to say, I'm kind of interested, maybe, and go ahead and click the button on this page and schedule a time to talk to the team. We'll review, we'll take a look at what your business is doing. If we think we can help you, we'll let you know, and you can grill us and ask us all kinds of questions and stuff. And if at the end of that, we did a good job and you're happy and you want to go ahead and move forward, and if we also think that we can be helpful, then we will. And if not, no problem. It's just not a big deal unless you don't fix the problems you got. So please either fix them yourself or let us do it, but don't let them go neglected. You didn't start business to not be happy. You haven't put in all of this work in your business to not have it give you and your family what you want. And that's the one thing I can really tell you. You get one life to live, and this is it. So you can spend your time frustrated and worried and weirded out, or you can just go to someone who knows how to do it, and you can let us do it for you, and we can solve the problems. So if you would like to get these problems solved and you want to focus on what you're good at and let us do what we're good at, we would love to do it for you. It would be a pleasure and an honor. So with that said, go ahead, click the button on this page here and set up a time to talk to the team. Really nice folks over here in my office. We're all here in San Diego. We don't outsource. It's not, you're not talking to some call center. It's me, it's Aurora, and it's Ashley, and it's Tyler, and it's Antoine, and that's the whole company, right? And so you're going to talk to one of us, and that's it. A really nice little family-style operation, and I think you'll enjoy the conversation. So thank you so much for attending this training. It's been a pleasure to give it to you, and I hope you got something out of it regardless of whether or not we decide to work together. I hope you got some ideas that can grow your business and get you closer to where you want to go. Keep up the good work, and take care of yourself and take care of each other. Look forward to speaking with you soon. Thanks so much.